Have we? There we are. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Epic Experiences Beyond Cancer series. This is episode 20. My name is Gail, aka Sunshine, and I will be your host today. We're going to be talking to some non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer survivors today. But first, I just want to tell you a little bit about Epic. In case you haven't heard the story, Epic was started 8 years ago, actually, after Nancy Farrow's son, Michael, was diagnosed with testicular cancer. And after a few years of trying to get his life back on track, really kind of had a hard time doing that. And then had an experience that really changed his life. And Nancy thought, why not do something like this for cancer survivors of all ages? And Epic was born. So now we've had about 500 people attend the camps. Of course, right now, because of COVID, they aren't looking quite the same. Unfortunately, we've had to cancel the in-person camps for the summer and the winter. But we have a ton of online stuff going on. We have this Beyond Cancer series. We have 3-day virtual camps that are going on. And we have a whole bunch of other things. So you can check out the Epic website to get more information on this. This series was started by the alumni team, of which I am a member. There are 9 of us. And we are all Epic Experience alumni. We went to different camps. We're from all over the country, different cancers. But what we wanted to do was really find a way to keep people connected, because one of the cool things about Epic is you really form this community. So we're doing things like this series. We have a Facebook page and different events and things like that. So that's how this Beyond Cancer series came to be. So one special announcement I want to make, I don't know if you can see my shirt, it says Old School Survivor. A few episodes ago, we had Ethan Zahn, who is a 3-time Survivor participant, of which he won the first one he was on. We had him and interviewed him because he is also a cancer survivor. And he has become a huge supporter of Epic. And he had these t-shirts made, and $5 from the sale of each shirt is going toward Epic. So I can say from personal experience, they are so comfortable. And they say Old School Survivor. So if you're a survivor, you'll go ahead and get them. The link is going to be there in the comments. So go ahead and get one of those. So today we're going to be talking to two survivors, Matt and Kelli, and I'm going to let them tell you more about themselves. But they happen to attend the same Epic Experience camp together, and they are both non-Hodgkin's lymphoma survivors. So we'll have them come on, and I will ask them questions. And there's Matt, and there is Kelli. Welcome, you guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us. So we're going to start off. I'm going to ask each of you to basically just introduce yourself, where you live, when you went to camp, and your camp name, and how you got your camp name. Let's start there. So Matt, why don't you go ahead and go first?
Sure. So my camp name was Maui, which is one of my favorite Hawaiian islands that we had gone to vacation on shortly before the camp that I attended. I actually live in Broomfield, Colorado, so not too far away from Mamalu. And then I was in camp almost 2 years ago, I think this week.
Oh, so,
wow. Lots changed in the 24 months. Now we have fire surrounding the camp, and obviously they're not having camps this summer, which is really unfortunate, but that's my history.
All right. Thank you. Kelli.
So Maui and I attended the same camp. So in my camp name is Warrior. I like to do yoga, and so that was kind of
perfect.
Like, what should my camp name be? Oh, I like yoga. Oh, okay, Warrior it is.
I like it. That's great.
Yeah, I live in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
All right. Cool. Okay, so what I'm going to ask you guys now, and feel free to jump in if you have any comments, like, based on what one another says or anything like that. But we want to talk about diagnosis. Now, both of you have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So tell me about, symptoms leading up to it, how you were actually diagnosed, the staging and all that kind of stuff, treatment you've gone through, basically kind of a synopsis of your cancer experience. I'll let either one of you go.
Kelli, you want me to start?
Sure.
All right. So in 2016, I noticed a lump in my left side of my neck. I'm not prone to swollen lymph nodes when I was sick, so I was concerned about it. I had a fine needle biopsy. I think in October that year, I had a ultrasound. Neither one of them were positive for cancer. My fine needle biopsy came back negative, actually. They just told me to watch it. It kept growing. And so in January 2017, I got a CAT scan or a CT scan. They said that was inconclusive. My ENT didn't really think I needed to do anything, but I wanted a second opinion. So I went to a different ENT. He saw it and he wanted to have surgery the next day, but he got me in a few days later. Took it out, and then I got my diagnosis, just a plain pathological diagnosis a week before my 41st birthday.
Wow.
And then on my birthday, I found out from the PET scan just how far it was spread. So I was stage 4E, double hit non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So it's Burkitt's, or they said Burkitt's-like. It's a very rare cancer.
Wow.
Like 50 people in the country get it a year. So
Oh my!
it was a surprise.
And what year was this? That you were
3 years ago. Yeah, 2017.
Wow. And then you just started treatment. What did you do for treatment?
Yeah, so within basically 5 days from the PET scan, I was in the hospital getting. So my protocol, I think it's called R-EPOC. So it's Rituxan. I think you might have had the same.
Etoposide.
Yeah.
Poison.
Poison, yeah.
Prednisone. I don't remember them all, but it's not the I think R-CHOP is the most common. EPOC is a little different. I think it's more used with aggressive lymphomas. I don't know. I can't remember if you had where I had spinal chemo. And it was basically 6 treatments covering 3 months. I handled the side effects pretty well. I did not miss any of my scheduled appointments. I did not need to be hospitalized any more than I was supposed to be. So I was very fortunate in how my body handled the chemo. And I had immediate results from the first session.
Wow.
To go from basically cancer through multiple parts of my body. After 2 treatments, it was not visible in my PET. And so that was a great first. That result made my oncologist very happy, and it's a very good. It's good for prognosis overall.
Awesome.
Wow.
How about you, Hoya?
So it's crazy how similar Maui and I's stories are. It freaks me out a little bit. But I, in 2016, was pregnant with my first son, and I was always complaining about how short of breath I was, and people were like, "Oh, it's pregnancy. You're just getting bigger. It's normal." And I had like weird symptoms, like right up until the week I was diagnosed, where like I kept aspirating on water that I was drinking, like I kept choking on stuff I was eating.
Wow.
And I had like extreme fatigue. And I went to the doctor and I was like, I don't feel good. And they're like, you're just pregnant, just, whatever. And I came back again the next day and the following day. And I was like, something is wrong. I don't know what it is, but like,
it's not normal.
Yeah. So they did a CT or a chest x-ray, and my chest x-ray, I just had this huge mass in my chest that was basically like the size of a cantaloupe. And at this point, I was 8 months pregnant.
Right here in the center of your.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I was diagnosed, and I was like, my heart was being strained too much. And so basically I was sent to a more aggressive hospital that they could treat me immediately, because pretty much the stress from pregnancy and the cancer on my heart was like, they were ready to like give me full, I don't know, like open my chest up to like release the pressure, basically.
Wow.
But I never got there. I delivered the baby, and then I started treatment within like 3 hours.
Oh my.
Yeah, I still had my epidural in from having my C-section when I was starting my first round of chemo. So, but yeah,
Wow.
so I did the same thing that Maui did. I did 6 rounds of RE-POC, and then after that I did 30 rounds of radiation. So.
Because of where it was here, they radiated
Yep.
your chest. No,
Yeah, and a lot of doctors that I've found out in like young people, they don't like to radiate the chest of young women. So I don't know. We'll see what happens.
The joys of the long-term side effects.
Yeah. So, but
Wow.
and then it turns out that I kept choking on my food or like aspirating because the tumor actually compressed my nerve that works on my vocal cords. So my vocal cord doesn't work. It's like dead, essentially. So when I was trying to eat or drink or swallow, it kept just like slipping down and not going down correctly. So, and that is a side effect I still have today.
Wow. So since what, 2016, 2017, have you guys had any reoccurrence? Are you, either of you, in any kind of continued treatment other than obviously your joyful, see the doctor every so often type thing?
Yeah, as far as I know, no. So I celebrate I think my anniversary dates are more important to me than my birthday, now. But no, I so far so good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Same thing.
Yeah.
That's wow. So when you were both diagnosed, it's shocking, especially, you're pregnant. Maui, you said something about running before we started. So I'm guessing you're healthy, fit. What were your thoughts when they told you you have cancer? What goes through your head?
So, in movies when something shocking happens and they go down to their knees and they can't, when I heard, I had to step away from the office and that's what I did. So, it's just overwhelming grief and like, holy, can I cuss on this? Holy shit. How is this happening when I'm 41? I'm a father of 2. I take good care of myself. I do things to avoid cancer. I have cancer. So, it's just a jumble of emotions, originally. And then, once you work through that, and I allowed myself to just, I guess I probably couldn't have stopped it, but I let that those flood of emotions hit me for as long as I needed to. And then you start immediately moving to, okay, well, I'm going to effing beat this and get me in immediately to go give me the poison to get rid of this. So that's how I viewed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think for me, I was not expecting to hear that news. My husband and I were sitting in a room that they brought us into, and the doctor came in, and I was like, oh, this doesn't seem like a room that they give you good news in, like kind of joking with my husband. And he was kind of like I could see it in his face that he was like, yeah, you're right. Like, this doesn't seem right. And then the doctor sat down and told us, and I was just shocked, just pure shock. And I can look back and think like I was just in denial. I just immediately after I was diagnosed, they're like, we're going to take you to the OB unit and you are very sick. Like, we need to figure out what's going on. And they were like, we'll get you a wheelchair. And I was like, I don't need a wheelchair. I'm not going in a wheelchair. And they were like, you need a wheelchair. Like, you can't walk, you can't breathe. Like, and I was just like, no. And I feel like those moments are like, I was never from the beginning ever going to let this win or beat me, or it tried to, but I think from the beginning it was just like set in stone. Like, we're just gonna try and get over the hump.
One thing, and then I'll jump. It's weird to me because I don't really. and maybe this is I'm screwing up the order here, but I don't really think too much about the cancer like day to day. At least I don't think so. It doesn't overwhelm me like it used to, but it is strange how, and I think I can hear it in Kelly's voice a little bit, like it's not hard to go back in time and go to that place. And I do feel those emotions rise back up. So, I mean, it's life-changing, and I don't think you ever really get over that fear and that feeling that you had in those times.
Yeah.
You just go through it.
Yeah, I think it's also hard, being pregnant. The birth of my son is so, it's like the two things, they coincide, they coexist. There's no like my son's birthday and not thinking about like all the tragedy that went, the days prior. But I can remember when they told us like, you have cancer, and I was like, but is my baby okay? Like what's going to happen to my son? Like where, like, I don't care. Like, is my kid okay? Like, am I going to live to see him be born? Or like, so it's crazy to have even those instincts before I ever even met him. So,
yeah. So Kelly, when they told you, did you immediately go and give birth? I mean, was it like?
No, they tried to, my son came 5 weeks early, because my heart just couldn't handle being pregnant anymore, and I needed stronger drugs. And it was either, I mean, he was ready to come out because he was only 5 weeks early, which thank goodness I was far along, because I don't even want to talk about it the other way around. But I was in the hospital for I think 3 nights, and then they were like, you cannot stay pregnant another minute. Like your heart is going to basically like explode. So I had an emergency C-section, and then my son was actually taken to a different hospital, and I was moved to a different hospital, and I didn't get to meet my son for 10 days after he was born. So he spent his first Christmas alone without us. And
so he actually had to be by himself, not even with your husband. I mean, like he was, wow.
Well, my husband could have gone to see him, but I was so touch and go that he was like, I can't leave I had doctors like rotating in and out of my room so frequently that I just didn't want to leave, and one of them. Yeah. So my family all visited him around the clock and stayed with him. But yeah, so it's a lot of trauma. A lot of trauma.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And how often, I mean, I think, Matt, you just alluded to this, but how often now do you really tell the story? So when you do, I imagine it brings all of it back up, because it's, even if it's not, and I'm with you guys, I'll go days without remembering, except for the curly hair, because I'm a year out of treatment. Other than that, I can go days without thinking about the fact that I had cancer, because I had kind of the same, I'm just going to deal with it.
Yet. I'm not there yet.
I can understand that. But when you actually have to tell it, I can imagine that's very hard to have to do. It
feels like unbelievable. Like I don't feel like when I talk about it that it could ever have been me. It's it's taken like a long time to be able to talk about it and not like cry. I'm like holding back tears.
I can imagine. No, I can completely. I mean, I feel it. I just, when you hear another survivor story, and the double whammy of being pregnant and all that's intense.
Very.
Yeah. I think about like Maui, like your story with your family and your kids, and like they're older and they had an idea and like they get it. And I feel like it's just, all of it is just so heartbreaking. It's horrible. It's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think, and I was a crier in camp, so I'll do my best to keep it together. But when you think about your family and dealing with it, I mean, that's what brings you to tears, or the letters I received from my family or my daughter at that time, who was at the age where she could understand it more than my son.
Yeah.
I think now even my son maybe gets it a little more than he did at that time, that I had cancer, and not just a little, and I don't mean to downplay anything, but I didn't, it wasn't like a little dot on my skin that they took out of. It was something that will always be with me, and it will always cause a little fear in the back of my mind. So,
yeah. How did you guys go about telling family and friends at the time? So how old were your kids, Matt?
So it was 3 years ago. So my daughter was 9 and my son was 6.
Okay.
And so from the time I had my PET scan, we made a reservation to go stay at a hotel and go see the Garden of the Gods in Colorado Springs. And I had a beer or two because I wasn't going to have one for a while. And we told my kids in the morning that I was going in for treatment, and we were very upfront. I don't want to hide. We just wanted to be open and honest that this was a battle, and I was going to take care. I was going to lose my hair, so I let them buzz my hair.
Yeah,
it never really came back, unfortunately. But or it did, just not in the same way it used to look.
Same way, right?
So that's how. And then in terms of like the rest of my family, I mean, I saw my parents right away when I was diagnosed, and then it got out on social media, so I put some stuff out on social media as well. And that's how everyone found out.
Yeah, social media does make it a little easier, I guess, in that sense.
Yeah.
I mean, still obviously telling your kids and the people who are closest to you, but
yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. How about you, Kelly?
My husband kind of dealt with all of it. I actually, it's not a funny story, but in hindsight, I feel like I was obviously in shock because I was supposed to work the next day for like 3 nights in a row or something like that. And the first phone call I made, which I have no idea why, I called my work and I was like, hey, I'm not going to be at work anymore. Like, I don't know when I'm going to come back. I have cancer. And they were just like,
oh my God. It is a shock. I mean, it's like, wow. Oh.
I mean, it's not anything to laugh about, but in hindsight, I think like,
well, right.
What was I thinking? Like,
right.
Well, I kind of scarred that person for a very long time. I heard
the person who answered
started crying and was freaking out, and
oh no.
But yeah.
But otherwise, you said your husband, which makes sense. I mean, if you're dealing with the double whammy of being pregnant, that your husband kind of took on that of sharing. Yeah.
And then of course social media.
We
waited a while.
Go ahead.
To say anything, but I felt like I was gonna lose my hair, and I also feel like I was excited to introduce my son to the world. Like every other woman gets to have their baby announcement, and I felt like he deserved that, and so I felt like it was a time to say, we have a new baby, and I'm also going to be doing this, and so it was a good way to kind of introduce that in a little bit of a better way, I think.
Yeah. If you're watching and you have questions, please go ahead and put them in there, and we will bring them up. Somebody has I was going to read a comment, but it just disappeared. Somebody said they had a completely different cancer journey, but they can relate, Kelly, to feeling like it's an out-of-body experience, like it's happening to someone else. I have a feeling that it is that part of it in different ways for different people is a common thing.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how and you've already mentioned some of it, Kelly, but how has it affected other areas of life? I should probably ask, how hasn't it, affected every area of your life? I mean, are there any major life changes that have come as a result? Now, in the beginning, Kelly, you mentioned that you have one son. Have you had another child since then, or you just have your one?
I have, yes.
You have. So that's my question. I was wondering if it had affected fertility. So that's awesome that you have another child. So is it a boy or a girl, the second one?
A boy. I have 2 boys.
Awesome.
So, and I have to thank Epic for allowing me to feel like I could even have another baby, because my husband really wanted to have another one, and I was like, no way I'm ever doing that again. Like, well, it out the first time. But after we came home from Epic, I was feeling like healthy and strong, and like I could actually be the person that I was before.
Yeah.
And they had said I didn't have any time to do any preservation or anything.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was pregnant. I mean, I had given birth like 3 hours before I started treatment, so there was no. And I can actually remember I was getting a huge dose of radiation for just a last ditch effort to try and see if they could bring the pressure off my heart. And the radiologist said to my husband, like, this could affect her fertility. Like, do you guys want to talk about it? Like, do you want to do it? And he's like, if you don't, I don't know what's going to happen to her, but
yeah.
And I remember sitting there like, this is the time we're having this conversation. Is like,
what?
Yeah. Yeah, we got lucky. I know a lot of women aren't as lucky as we are, but yeah, I am unbelievably blessed that I was able to have a second chance and do it again right, and not be sick for the whole entire first year of my son's life has been like amazing.
That's awesome.
So he's like my little second chance. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Kelli, how was it with the actual pregnancy? Was that scary as you were going to? I mean, just bringing back.
Yeah, it was just like, I mean, I think we all have PTSD from everything we've been through, and it was just like reliving kind of that nightmare over and over again. And I am done having children.
For that reason, yeah.
I mean, I like have pain, and I just psychologically it was just not. I just didn't. I'm just done. So.
Yeah, it's completely understandable. Are there any other, I don't know, long-term side effects that you guys have to deal with in terms of either treatment? Obviously, there's the mental, emotional, no doubt. But are there any kind of adjustments you've had to make to your new normal? Anything along those lines?
I have, so mine was in my gut, and so I think I will always have not IBS per se, but I'll have times where I have real issues where just like pain and discomfort, and that sucks because it causes a little fear each and every time. But that's my biggest long-term consequence. For a long time, I had pretty bad neuropathy in my fingers and my toes would cramp up at night. Sometimes that still happens, but as time has gone by, that's gotten less and less. So it really hasn't. Crazily enough, I don't have really any long-term effects on me. I actually probably am more active now than I was before. So,
awesome. So your energy level came back to where it was before?
Yeah. I think I'm big into the mindset, and even if I felt like it wasn't, I was going to anyway. And if I didn't feel like I was going to make myself have the energy, just because that's kind of the way I'm wired. So
yeah, understandable. Kelli, for you, anything else?
Yeah, I mean, I have my vocal cord problem.
Yeah.
And I have like a lot of pain, pretty much. Like my hips ache a lot, and I have a lot of pain between my shoulder blades, which was initially where I had pain before I was diagnosed.
Oh gosh.
But I mean, for the most part, for everything, I feel great. I don't let it. Yeah, I feel Maui. I think that we kind of feel a lot of the same ways. Like I would never let my mind try to drift down those pathways that it's so easy to go down, to like succumb to all of it. Not saying that I haven't been there, because I have. And like I said before, Epic was huge for my physical ability. I feel like before I went, I was like afraid. Like I was a fragile person. Like I was afraid to do stuff. And it got me kind of like, oh, I can go whitewater rafting and I can push someone off a raft. And I have like the ability to do this stuff. And it's given me like, I feel like I should be on an ad right now.
You're doing awesome. So how long after you finished treatment and then Epic, like how much time was in there?
What was that question? I missed that one.
So how long in between treatment, like Kelli, you were saying that you had felt like, there's all these things you couldn't do. So in between treatment and then Epic, how much time was there? A year, maybe?
Well, I finished radiation in July of 2017. So yeah.
About a year, yeah. And since then, how has your life changed in terms of physical fitness? What did Epic enable you?
I've never been more active in my life. I started running during quarantine because I thought I was going to lose my mind.
Yeah.
And I have not been a runner because my vocal cord, I don't have an open airway. So I have like a half of an airway. So that sort of activity has always been really hard for me. And it's to the point where it makes me so mad that I can't do it that I didn't. And I finally was like, this is crazy. I'm just going to start. I'm just going to try. Awesome. So I just started running, and now I've got a half marathon that I signed up for in October. So we'll see.
That's awesome.
It inspired me. I did. I also I did a 10K right away, and then I did a half marathon last year, and I had an Epic shirt on.
Awesome.
And it's a bear, so that last mile was very tiring. So, but I'm also older. So.
Okay, well, I feel pretty old.
Wow, both of you. That's awesome. I'm wondering if, just from people you've met either through Epic or if you've been in a non-Hodgkin lymphoma survivors group or anything like that, have either of you experienced survivor's guilt at all? And if so, kind of how has that played out, and how have you dealt with it?
So I tried to go to I went to a couple support groups right after I was done before Epic. And I think I shared this in the Epic groups. It made me very depressed. And it was not, and it certainly, I think it was what I chose, but it just depressed me because a lot of these people had relapsed and were in like their third or fourth time where they're dealing with it. And so it starts going in my mind, well, I'm going to be the same way. And it was just very depressing. So I pretty much kicked support groups to the curb. And I haven't been one. In terms of survivor's guilt, I don't feel survivor's guilt, probably because I don't know a lot. I've kind of stayed away from the community a little bit. Yeah. So the only guilt that I maybe have is probably that I could be interfacing more with the community, because I think I have a pretty good story to tell, and I think I'm a pretty good listener to people that have that are in this situation. But I haven't really provided. I haven't given that of myself, and I think I will when I am completely ready. But I really focus on the family, and this actually was a first step for me to jump back in and do something like this.
Well, thank you for joining us. Definitely. How about you, Kelli? Any?
I think I feel the exact same way that you do, Maui. Like I feel guilt about not being part of the community more, and but it's also very hard to be part of it and to see the ugly side of it and to like relive some of those memories and some of those moments. And I've recently connected with another survivor, and we have shared a lot of stuff. And sometimes like we just chat about random things, and it just like snaps me like right back to a place that I'm like, whoa, I was not expecting to go there so quickly. And and then being part of some of the other groups that I'm in, hearing about recurrence and losses, and it's a lot of why me? How come I get this? There's definitely guilt for me a lot. There was a young woman that I connected with when I was diagnosed that was also pregnant, and she unfortunately didn't make it.
Wow.
And she weighs very heavy on my heart and my mind. And so I don't know how to find like the right balance between all of it. It's really difficult to figure that out.
Yeah. I'm with you, Kelly. I've definitely had that where it's like, I mean, I'm otherwise so healthy, and other people have had such hard time either with the side effects, which again, like you guys, I really didn't, I'm still here. I mean, that's a tough one, I think. In terms of not getting involved, it took me, I was first diagnosed in 2000, and I went to Epic in 2016. So that's how long it took me to actually get involved in something. So you guys are good. It's where you are. I think each person is where they are, and you do what you feel led to do at the time you are led to do it. So I think you guys are doing. I mean, I really appreciate you guys being here because I know it's hard. So I really do appreciate it.
I do think, unlike Maui, you fared chemo pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Like you felt pretty decent through it. It like knocked me on my ass. Like I had a very, very hard time. I had a lot of dose adjusting going on because it was debilitating. I mean, I was like crawling to the bathrooms. I couldn't stand up. And then like I was unable to take care of my newborn, obviously.
Right.
So it's crazy to hear people who have had the same treatments and have had the same REPOC, because it's not the typical. Usually it's R-CHOP, I think is right.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear. And Maui, I think we talked about that, about how it was a little bit. I hate to use the word easy because that like doesn't seem like the right word.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, though. I mean.
Yeah. I don't think it was easy. Well, but in you know what? To be honest, in comparison to the people I have known who have had it, it was easy for me. Doesn't mean it wasn't difficult, but in comparison, it was easy.
Right.
I mean, my worst symptom was I never got sick. I had pretty bad mouth sores between 4 and 5. That's really it. And then I also had, I guess I had not a bad outcome, but I had a bad spinal chemo where they put it in, they messed up. And so I had to stay an extra night in the hospital because it gave me a migraine.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that was my, I don't know if that was your least favorite part. The spinal chemo was it's the most vulnerable I've ever felt.
I didn't get that. I didn't have that.
Oh. So okay, so maybe I'll take it off grade easy and move it a little above easy, because you basically lie prone, and they take out 8 cc's of spinal fluid, and then they put the exact same amount of chemo so that you stay in balance. So and you're lying prone, and you're basically, that's one thing I learned is I got better at trusting, because I'm trusting people with my life at that point, and I mean they could hit my nerve. There's a lot of things that could go wrong. So.
Yeah. I've never even heard of that, actually going in the spine like that. That
is insane.
Wow. A question from someone who's watching, who is also a survivor. Chris is asking if either of you still have the tiredness, sweating, itching, etc. from the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma.
I have itching. I did have one symptom I had beforehand that I didn't realize was related to the cancer at the time. I had a rash on my chest, and what's happening? Why won't this go away? And it turned out it was actually a fungal infection that my body couldn't fight. So within
Wow.
2 treatments of it went away. But I guess that was one of my symptoms I didn't realize is I was very itchy prior to, it's a very strange thing to say. I was itchy, but I itched a lot. I never really had the night sweats, but I do itch a lot, and especially at night.
Interesting.
And it's kind of the same thing like Kelly said, like she gets pain in the back where that's the shittiest thing about this is a lot of times when you do feel stuff, it's some of the stuff that you might have had back then. As time goes by and you have clean PET scans or clean blood work, like I can now, it's easier for me to go to the safe place they're not related.
Right.
So, and my doctor's now more worried about a different type of cancer that could come than the one I had.
Wow.
From what? Or
Yeah.
No, not that I have a different cancer. Sorry. That
No,
they're more worried like about a secondary, like at this point, it's like, but my specific type of aggressive lymphoma, because it was so aggressive, if it's been this long, it's very unlikely that specific lymphoma would come back.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that's like kind of the same thing with me. Like, they're more worried about like breast cancer because I had radiation to my chest. I'm a young female then.
Right.
At this point, about reoccurrence of the lymphoma. But yeah, every time the pain comes, it's like, oh, there it is. It's back again.
Right.
Oh, I imagine.
But I just have a lot of pain in my hips that I never had before. I swear when I got Neulasta, they were trying to break my femur.
Oh,
my gosh.
Oh, I hate Neulasta. Why'd you have it in your hip?
Wait, and so they
I just had a lot of pain in my hips
as a result of it.
Yeah, because that's where your white blood cells are made. So when they come out, yeah.
Memories. I forgot about that. I hated Neulasta.
Quick.
Oh my gosh.
Because I got it really bad I feel it in my legs, like a weariness, but I'd feel it really bad in my jaw.
Yeah.
But it was, I don't have hip pain anymore, but Neulasta is a bear.
Wow.
I hated that stuff.
I was about ready to quit after I think my 3rd round. I was like, if you try and give me that dose of Neulasta, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not doing it again. Like I can't walk. I can't move. It hurts so bad.
Yeah. And I heard, and they said, wait, take a what's it called?
Claritin.
Claritin.
What?
Right. Yeah, I feel like that. Whatever. You're not allowed to see that. The Claritin did jack.
Yeah. I'm like, so can I take the whole bottle? Like, will that help? Like, what?
Right. What can I make to actually help me sleep when I have Neulasta?
Oh my gosh. Well, let me ask you, so that in case there's anybody watching who doesn't know, what does Neulasta, like why were you both taking Neulasta? What does that do or supposed to do besides give you pain in the hip and in the jaw and all these other places?
So after they deplete your body so much with the EPOC that you basically need to regenerate your white blood cells, right? So white blood cells. And so this speeds it up so you stay. So basically, it helps you and keeps you so you're not in that state where you're so susceptible to infection.
Neutropenic, right? Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
I forget all the lingo.
That's okay. Okay, so for you, Kelly, it just attacked your hips. It was like it was almost like you could feel your body making the white. But so you still have that same ache now, is what you're saying?
I still have a lot. Yeah, I refuse to acknowledge it because I'm 30 years old, but I have like chronic pain, and like I just deal with it. Like I don't walk around like I have chronic pain, but it sucks, and I like refuse to let it win, and like running marathons and stuff.
Hey, you're a warrior. Your name is perfect. No, I have to ask you, are you guys kidding that they told you to take Claritin?
No.
It's like the magic Claritin will maybe make you feel better.
Yeah, it's the Claritin isn't for the pain. The Claritin actually blocks like one of the receptors that some histamine receptor that is supposed to help with that pain. So you're supposed to take it 3 days before you get the shot.
Oh, no one told me that.
Oh yeah, you're supposed to like start taking it a couple
Well,
days.
it doesn't sound like it helps if you take it 3 days.
Well,
Yeah.
it did work for you either way or me, and I was taking it the night of. So
I know. Well, I probably was like
Wow.
eating a bottle of it, like, okay, this is gonna help. Let's.
Wow.
I saw someone comment about an appetite. If your appetite
Yeah.
back, and I actually I have struggled with this with my appetite and nausea since I was diagnosed. I have chronic nausea. I always feel very like queasy.
Yeah.
I can't eat like I used to. So yeah, I definitely still have that, and you're 7 years out and you still have it. So that's not giving me hope that it's going away anytime soon. But yeah, I don't know about you, but yeah.
Wow.
sorry, I had my computer's dying, so I need a charger, so I had to go ask for one.
So the question was, has your appetite changed before?
No, I'm still pretty hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't eat. I'm vegetarian, so I still eat a lot of beans, granola, and almonds, and that's probably about 80% of my diet. So I eat a lot of it.
Yeah. Wow. Do you guys keep yourself informed on advancements in treatment or what's going on with new non-Hodgkin's lymphoma? Anything like that? Either from Dr. Google or from your doctors, or do you do any kind? Do you keep up on any of that?
I don't. I don't Google a lot. I learned a lesson or two. But I think it's just like other people in the community that I chat with, and honestly, it really freaks me out. Sometimes just about like recurrence and being so young, having it the first time around, I feel like I'm going to spend a lifetime thinking about it coming back.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the scariest part. Also, from what I've heard, non-Hodgkin's is like an old person's disease.
So usually people are how old? Do you know?
70.
And you were how old?
28.
Oh gosh.
So, and Maui, you're looking different at me, so I don't know what you know, but I just worry that in some of these treatments, there's not enough research that what happens when you give a 28-year-old all of these drugs and these huge doses of radiation and all this medication.
Yeah.
What happens when they live, hopefully a lot longer than when you're giving a 70 or 80-year-old person these types of drugs.
Right.
So, I guess time will tell. And I refrain from some of that research because it scares me, to be honest. So.
No, I understand that. How about you, Matt? Do you?
So I didn't really know what type I had until I was pretty much done with everything, because I didn't want to look through my paperwork.
Yeah.
So what I have looked at is, the CAR T therapy, which is the newer instead of this old school regimen of poison, basically, where they re-put T cells into your body, and it's very promising, right? So at my worst times, I would occasionally go on my phone and look and say, hey, what's happening with this? Because in case this ever came back, what's happening in the future, where I would, if ever came back, what options are available for me at that point. Right. But I don't spend a lot of time on it. I avoided stuff about like prognosis rates or anything that talked about how I might not make it. I avoided that stuff. I still avoid that stuff. So I'm not one of those people that go on Google and learn everything about it, because instead of helping me, it causes me anxiety. It makes me want to go run or get out of the house or do something.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm totally with you guys on that one. I'm wondering if there have been any unexpected positives that have come out of this whole journey. I mean, it is easy to point out the things that suck about it. I'm wondering if there have been some things that kind of in hindsight or even at the time you realized this is a good I can take out of this whole situation.
I think there's a lot of good to be taken out of it. I mean, one thing it does do is it really enforces how lucky we are and to be grateful for everything we have. And that gratitude right after you're done, that feeling of gratefulness is front and center all the time, right? Like my nurses, 3 years later, I'm still so grateful.
A hug somehow.
But there's just so much gratitude, and that is front and center for a long time. I think living with that, it becomes a little bit more challenge day by day as you get farther away from the cancer to live with that. But it's still better than it was. I think I'm more grateful for everything that I have and how great my family is and my friends. And so, that aspect, that perspective I would not have had without cancer. So, and I've done things I never would have done without cancer because I'm like, why? This is the time, in the past time we can't go on this vacation because we don't have enough money. You know what? We'll go on this freaking vacation. I think I jumped off the stratosphere in Vegas. I climbed a 14er. I did a half marathon,
Awesome.
It gives you, it reminds you have a limited time. So you try to use it. So that's what I'm grateful for having the cancer.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. I have a hard time ever saying like that I'm grateful for it or that in any way, shape or form, I feel like it had made me more appreciative. But obviously there are things that I do appreciate out of it. And it's like really little things like taking my son to the movies. Like we went and saw a movie. We saw Frozen 2 when it came out. And I was like hysterical. Just like, wow, I can't believe that this moment here, this small moment where I'm alive and I can take my son to the movies is like impacting me like this. So I think it's given me like that little, like, be grateful for like the little moments things. And also I actually met like one of my really great friends right now through treatment. She was my nurse and we are super good friends. And so I'm grateful that it brought me friendships and they're basically like my family now. But yeah, that's a tough question for me. I struggle with that question a lot because I feel like it took so much from me that I don't know that I can say it ever gave me anything back.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's understandable. And the things that you've pulled from it are the little things to be grateful for in spite of, all the other stuff. Yeah. If you're watching this and you have any questions, go ahead. We have just a few more minutes, but go ahead and post them. Sorry, I cut you off. What were you going to say, Maui?
I was just going to say there's a song by Rob Thomas where he talks about basically he's lost friends. He's proud to be getting older. So when I hear people get really like down as they get older, it's not a given, right? And so that's where I try to turn my mind. When I feel fear or when I feel anxious or whatnot.
Yeah. It is like being on like that cusp of like just turning 30. People, they're like, how do you feel turning 30? Like, and I'm like, I'm alive. Like, 30 is awesome. I'm loving it. 30 is great. Like, I couldn't ask for anything more. Yeah. And I think maybe something good that has come out of it is that my response to some questions that people ask me about, like, how does it feel to be 30? and they're like, oh shit, yeah, you're right. It's not so bad to be 30. Like I'm alive, and
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm wondering if you guys were to have a chance to talk to somebody who's newly diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's, is there something that you would tell them? Either something you've learned because it happened a way you wish it wouldn't have, or anything that you might offer someone who was just diagnosed? Any kind of.
So when I had my surgery to take out the lump in my neck or my lymph node, can't remember the exact words, but the nurse said to my wife, basically, this is essentially a bump in the road. Like in a long-term scheme of things, it's going to be okay. Statistically speaking, non-Hodgkin's, there is so many promising treatments. Kelli and I, probably 20 years ago, would probably not be talking. Chances are at this point, it is just a bump in the road. You will get through it. It will feel like an out-of-body experience. That thing about the out-of-body experience, like, I don't think when I was in it, it didn't feel out of body. But when I think back to when I think of like sitting connected to a machine, being barely able to walk around a hotel lobby, and remembering the bone pain from Neulasta, that does feel like an out of body experience. So in the present, it is absolutely awful, but you will get through it. And, it's a major bump in the road, but you'll get through it.
Yeah. Kelli?
God, I don't know. I read these questions last night or whatever, and this question really, really gets me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure what I would say. It's hard to think. It's such a fragile time, I feel like, to say. I'm always trying to find the right words. I feel like I can never find the right words to say, or I always just feel like I wish I could take the burden, because I know what's ahead of you, and I wish I didn't. And so I feel like advice is just like, I feel like you just have to feel what's going on, and you just have to kind of acknowledge it, accept it, and kind of like what Molly was saying, like you have to have the mind that you're going to get through it and that you're gonna overcome, because you can't have a fracture in your mindset, otherwise you will break.
Yep. I think that's huge. I think that's huge.
And I know I said I didn't really look at stuff, but I did, when you're given stuff to read, when everything hits the fan, it talks about, and my oncologist was very much about a positive mindset and how that has positive effect to actual both to how you deal with the treatment, and then also your longevity and how well you do with your prognosis. So it's so important to be positive and know that there's tons of people like Kelli and I who
you're still here.
Are still here.
You're kicking butt. You're running half
marathons.
I mean, I might be shuffling through the finish line, so if that's going to be, I'll take it.
Hey,
that's right.
That's an excellent point. That's excellent. Last question. Again, if anybody has a last question, go ahead and put it on there. This is my last question. Is there anything, looking back, is there anything you wish you would have known back then that you have realized now, either related to the cancer or the treatment, or just the whole experience dealing with any part of it? Is there something that, I don't know, even if you go back and tell yourself, Warrior or Maui, anything along those lines?
I was told basically from June 2016 through January that I probably was okay. So get a second opinion if you feel like something's wrong. That I think potentially made a difference in my prognosis, going to a different ENT who was able to see right away that what was on my neck was not normal. And so that'd be my thing. Trust your gut and go with it. I never felt like I never felt like something was not wrong.
Interesting.
That's not very happy, but that's
Hey, I didn't ask for happy. No, that's excellent. I completely agree in terms of the second opinion and trusting your gut. Definitely.
Yeah.
Kelly?
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like being completely blindsided wasn't really the way to go into it, but I also feel like I'm not sure if someone told me that I was about to head into what I did, if I would have even been able to comprehend what that meant.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like that's relates to the other question of like, what would you say to somebody during treatment? Like, I don't know what to say to you because I don't know how to tell you that while I was going through treatment, I crawled my way to the bathroom because you don't want to hear that.
Right.
So, and it could be very different for them. So I have a hard time, like, I don't know, telling.
No, that's an excellent point because it is different. I mean, you guys had the same kind of cancer, slightly different, very similar treatment in some ways, right? And yet very different experiences on at least some level. So you're right. It's different for everyone.
Yeah. I wish I just very quickly, well, just say that I'm so young. I wish I had just gotten married in April of 2016. I got pregnant in May. And then, whatever. And so I got married, pregnant, and was diagnosed with cancer all in 1 year.
Wow.
And I feel like if someone could have like whispered into my ear, like everything is gonna like hit the fan, but then it's gonna be okay. But like your relationships are gonna be like tested to the absolute limits.
Yeah.
I wish I had just like a little bit of knowledge of that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, we're gonna wrap up, but I actually do want to give you guys a chance. Is there anything I didn't ask you about that you would want to share about your experience? Just anything that I didn't ask you. I just kind of sometimes like to throw this out there if there's something.
I not off the top of my head. You know, I don't know how many people are watching it. You know, I joke that maybe it's 50,000. I doubt that's the case.
I think that's about right.
But honestly, you know, I am on social media, and if anyone has any questions or anything, feel free to reach out. I'm not really on social media, but my profile's there. Oh, and then I'll do a plug for this T-shirt. So
there it is, old school. I'm telling you guys, they're the most comfortable T-shirts. There it is. If you want one, again, they were created by Ethan Zahn, who is a survivor literally from cancer, but also he was on the show Survivor, and he is giving $5 from the purchase of each shirt to support Epic Experience. So there you go. So Kelly, anything else that you would add that I didn't ask you?
No, I don't know, but for the 100,000 people that are listening right now, you know, I feel like as a young woman, it's hard. It's hard to lose your hair. It's hard to lose everything, and it happens very quickly. And I think that there is a life after this.
Yeah.
There is a life, and you have to want it, and it is there. And for a long time, you look in the mirror and you don't recognize that person, and then one day, all of a sudden, there she is again. And I hope that everyone can find that again.
Yeah.
So, and I struggle with it. It's not every day, but that is my hope for young women, that they can find that beauty again and strength and not let this break them. So
awesome. Thank you both so much, Warrior and Maui. I can't thank you enough for being on here. You guys, seriously, you both rock. The fact that you're doing half marathons is awesome. I think that's great. Everybody who's joined us today, we thank you. We will be back in 2 weeks with another episode of the Beyond Cancer series. If you have any questions for people at Epic, for Kelly and for Matt, you can send them through Epic Experience and we'll get to them. But I just want to thank you guys so much for being part of this, and we hope everybody has a great day.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.